Hello, welcome to Wise Up on Air Beta 2025.1 edition. If you've been here before, we're going to do something a little different for this episode of Wise Up on Air. So stick with me as we go behind the screen to take a different perspective on this release. Who's still with me? Okay, let's go. Welcome to Wise Up on Air. My name is Damian Kaspauer. I'm the software product manager here at Audiokinetic, and I'm so excited to bring you the work of this latest release. There's so much cool stuff in the box. It's been out there in the wild now for about a week, and I'm excited to dig in, so let's go. And the first thing I really wanted to talk about is 2025.1 and Wise. Not to mention the Audiokinetic 25-year anniversary this year. I don't know what kind of crazy synchronicity you have to pull off to make that happen, but congratulations to Audiokinetic for 25 years of Wise out there in the community. And folks in the community, in the chat, great to have you here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about the features as we move through Wise 2025.1 Beta 1. This is an exciting time here at Audiokinetic as we have been working diligently towards this beta release as part of what we call the Wise Summer of Beta, which will unfold across 3 betas leading up to the full release this fall. But here we are, we're at beta 1, and we've got a ton of exciting stuff in the box for y'all to check out. So first stop, jump over to the What's New at our Audiokinetic blog. We've got a summary of each of the areas and features that are included there. Just little snippets to give you a taste of what is in this release. And then dive behind the scenes, learn more, jump into our documentation for each of these features where we unpack with precision really what's there. And I just want to say, like, what a tremendous effort it is to arrive with this beta, not only with the features that are there, but with documentation, blogs translated across 5 languages, there for you to get a better understanding of what's coming up as part of your interactive audio workflows using Wise. So jump into the What's New and take a look at what is there. And then install that beta from the Audiokinetic launcher today if you haven't already. You can get the Audiokinetic launcher through audiokinetic.com, get that downloaded, and then jump to the Spatial installation for the 2025.1 beta. Get that installed, and don't be surprised. There is a survey that is attached to that release in the launcher where you can provide feedback about your experience. That's really what the beta is all about. It's about trying to get the best representation of how we arrive with these features with your feedback leading up to that full release in the fall. So we're really interested to hear how these features land for you. So please take that survey. And meanwhile, report any bugs. Line up at the Audio Kinetic Wwise community Q&A on our website. Share your experience there, ask questions about what's going on. This is one of the mechanisms we have for being able to, get more information about how you're working out there with Wwise. And if you're a developer with a support plan, feel free to reach out to support and communicate issues that arrive as part of your development pipeline. And as always, you can drop general feedback to openears@audiokinetic.com. We're there for you, learning about what you're getting up to with interactive audio using Wwise. And stay tuned, because we have been bringing the results of that feedback across our different communication channels as we've been doing betas these last 5 years. So, stay tuned, because we bring back the results of your feedback and how that arrives across betas. For instance, last year we introduced some new features for object tabs, a new property editor if you've had a chance to get your hands on it. And one of the things that came back early on as part of that beta feedback was the ability to easily expand and collapse, which was something that we iterated on across betas towards that full release. So again, thanks to folks who spoke up, brought that feedback to us so that we could make that the best feature possible. You'll see that sprinkled throughout this presentation about features as well. So yeah, thank you in advance for taking the time to help us grow in the direction of your interactive workflows. We're going to talk across 4 different areas of Wwise today, from the user experience, our spatial audio acoustics technology, integrations with Wwise, Unity, with Unreal, Unity, and of course custom integrations. We've also got some cool features landing in the sound engine that we'll talk about. Good to see folks lining up in the chat. Guido, always a pleasure. Santiago, Wessel, Alex, yeah, great to have you here for the ride. And what a ride it is in 25.1. We've got features on the user experience side, like media pool, merging the hierarchies, event limiting, sidechaining, and a lot more in the box. We're going to go deep on that. We've also got the Unity Wwise browser over on our integration side, along with dynamic dialogue integration in Unreal, an exciting way to sequence sounds in a dynamic way. Over on the acoustics side of things, we've got a new dual shelf filter. We've got project environmental curve share sets. We've got these amazing game object 3D viewer updates, giving you access to toggling visibility within that game object 3D viewer that are just set to make your workflows much more accessible. Not to mention work on acoustics performance, always driving towards the best and most performant environmental representation for our acoustics technologies. Not to mention the new command buffer API and behavioral rewrites optimizing playback across systems in the sound engine. But we'll get there. Let's just take a moment to acknowledge the great work done by the team at Audio Kinetic. Some really just fantastic, passionate, and just folks who care about the workflows that you are using in your daily reach for these creative, dynamic audio techniques, creating these experiences. The folks at Audio Kinetic have this in mind as we are evolving the technologies that you're working with out there. And I just want to take a moment to thank them for the hard work that they've put into this release. It's a good one. We're having a lot of fun over here, and we hope you are too. So let's jump right in with the user experience. In 24.1, we arrived with a focused and iterative real-time workflow that integrated live media transfer and expanded live editing. So the ability to start in your digital audio workstation with Wwise connected to the game and carry the work that you do all the way through to the game running in real time. This loop of real-time iteration, we think, speaks directly to the level of quality you'll be able to have as you're working towards this best sounding representation of whatever it is that you're working on. Yeah, great to hear. Live media transfer is a game changer. Iterating live with Reaper Open saves an immense amount of time. Good to see you in the chat, Aaron, and thanks for that comment. Yeah, we think that this is the future. Keep you in your workflow, keep you iterating in real time, keep it live, right? So moving forward from that, we also can bring the Strata multi-track sound library collections and Wwise, a Reaper extension that allows you to set up your hierarchy, have your rendered audio files arrive in place in your Wwise project, and it really supercharges development across there. The next piece of this falling in place as part of Wwise 2025.1 is the new media pool. Media pool being a view inside of Wwise that gives you access to your sounds, sound libraries, and again, bringing into that full focused and iterative real-time workflow with audio content within Wwise. Let's dig a bit deeper into that media pool. And interesting to hear if any folks have already been in the beta and have their hands on it. Keep me posted. The media pool is a new view in Wwise that gives you access to audio files, both your project originals directory. So these are the audio files that are in your Wwise project, as well as folders of audio files on your disk or as part of your sound library collections. So let's go over some of the areas that are part of this media pool view, and we'll keep talking about how this puts sounds within reach so that you can continue or begin your sound design creation process directly in Wwise. First thing we look at is the databases and filters. This is the place where you establish any file locations on disk where audio files are then made available for searching. This includes by default the project originals folder. So if you're ever looking for audio files that you've added to the project, this makes it a one-stop shop for you to jump in, find those files, and keep going with content that is either already part of your project or established as a database for you to begin searching. This is a text-based search that is going to dig into the metadata that is embedded in your audio files, including the file name itself. And so your searches then will look through those databases and along with the filters that you can author, help to return the results in this center area. These results then can be selected those selections can be auditioned with the transport. We have some auditioning properties for you to be able to adjust so that, you know, if you need to hear something pitched up or pitched down, slightly filtered or looping, you know, you can immediately put your hands on that and audition how that will arrive, along with a visualization of that audio in the audio preview area, in addition to region selection, which we're going to dig a little bit deeper into here. All of that to say, you can then add these to the audio file importer to be, you know, to arrive in your Project Explorer as part of your hierarchy, as part of that import process. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that across all of these areas of the media pool view. So we can think about selection of a returned result. In this case, I think I did a search for wood. It's returned these results from my databases that I've assigned, and I've selected a region in this one that I could then add to the audio file importer and define the destination. I also have a feature that allows me to auto-select detected regions. So again, we're going to look at that audio file. We're going to make a best guess at what regions might want to arrive as part of that import and automatically select them. When that gets carried over to the audio file importer, you get a list that's automatically named and numbered, along with information about the region trims that will be carried over as part of that sound SFX object, in this case, that we're going to import as. And again, you can import these as segments, you can import these as sound voice objects. You know, the audio file importer is a fully featured way for you to define how and where these arrive, and things only get more exciting from here. Once you've imported those, it carries over the audio file to your Project Originals folder. That audio file then is the audio source that serves as the basis, and the region that was imported is automatically trimmed as part of the source editor. So here in this, we see one of those regions that was defined carried into the source editor with the trims aligned to the duration that was selected. And this is all, you know, fully available through drag and drop and multiple selection as well. So we've got an illustration here of taking a sound from the library as a and dropping it into a music segment. It falls in place as a track. We also have, you know, manual selection of regions. And then, oh, that's too much work. Clicking the auto select, you know, automatically selects those, and then simply dragging and dropping from that audio preview to a random container, you know, drops those regions into place, automatically named and automatically trimmed to each of those selected regions. And then lastly, just dropping in a region to the new sound voice. So again, trying to bring consistency across the way that you bring audio into your project through the media pool across the different ways of working. So we're super excited for you to get your hands on it. This is a new way of, you know, again, continuing the sound design process or beginning it in Wwise. And it goes the same for dialogue and music as well. So it becomes a hub for you to keep working. And I gotta say, this feature hits home for the first time from the project originals database. You can open up a reference view and see all the instances of that audio file that are used in your Wwise project. So you can now navigate to the point of use in the Project Explorer for all of the references to that audio file. So I couldn't be more excited about that. And, you know, this is just the high level of that new way of starting to work in Wwise and have access to audio files. But we're going to be digging in deep over the summer leading up to the full release about the media pool with Bernard Rodrigue and Etienne Richon. We're going to unpack what's behind this and go deeper into this new workflow. So it's exciting stuff. I love seeing folks in the chat asking questions. There is, a question about, is there a threshold setting for auto select? And already, thank you for that question, Jean-Philippe. We've also got Bernard right up there in the chat responding. We don't have that threshold in place yet, but we're considering it. And yeah, thanks for that feedback. It's great to have the community here today talking about this feature that arrives as a new way to access your audio files in Wwise. So thanks so much. And I'll say it again, jump in to the beta, get it installed, use one of our many sample projects in conjunction with it. Grab the Wwise Adventure Game or the Wwise Audio Lab. There's a bunch of free samples from the Strata library. Just get in there and work with this and let us know how we're doing. Give that beta a try and take the survey that's associated with that installation in the Audio Kinetic launcher. And let us know if you want to come to the table to discuss this in person. It's something that we're, finding time for this summer to take on some one-on-one interviews. So at the end of this survey, give us your email address and we'll reach out potentially to discuss the media pool and the beta further. If you have problems, you can always, or run into bugs, you can use the bug reporter in the Audio Kinetic launcher. All you have to do is shut down Wwise, tag that bug with media pool feedback, and it will include anonymous analytics, Wwise logs, things that can help us understand the situation you are in at that moment. And again, this is data that we're using to drive the beta feedback towards the best release this fall. So yeah, dig in. We are excited to hear how you work with the media pool in the future. So I don't know, to me, this starts to bring together a workflow that starts at content creation, goes all the way to the game, dynamically at runtime in your workflow from the moment you start working. So let us know how we're doing. Let's talk about unifying workflows. There's an initiative to try and grow together the way that we work with music, sound, and voice interactively in Wwise. The goal being to reduce the cognitive load of having to know different systems in different ways. Of course, we want to preserve, what's good about each of those systems, but we also recognize that there's an opportunity to unify workflows towards greater accessibility across music, sound, and voice. And so we're taking some steps in Wwise 2025.1 to start growing these workflows together. Let's talk about the actor-mixer hierarchy. You've known it. Like me, you've probably loved it. And right alongside that, as a place for authoring sounds, voice, and their behaviors, has lived the interactive music hierarchy. Separate, but divided by a sort of invisible wall that prevents these things from living together. Well, exciting to announce in 25.1, we have grown these hierarchies together as part of the renamed containers. And so now your music, sound, and voice objects can all live together in a shared hierarchy. And this is a first step for us as we continue to unify these workflows. Nothing changes with how you can parent them or create children. So nothing changes today fundamentally, but you can see this as a first step of us growing these workflows together. Yeah, RIP actor mixer hierarchy. Facts, like I have embodied this terminology for my entire career, going all the way back to I think it was 2009, the first Wwise project I worked with. So it's a it's a term that I've grown up with and certainly will be missed. And at the same time, this comes in response to feedback that we've gotten from the education community. The difficulty of associating this term with what it's used for. And so this terminology barrier is something that felt very important to break down for our new and early learners of Wwise, to really help them understand how to begin working in Wwise from the start without necessarily forcing terminology on them from day one. And so I couldn't be more excited about what this unlocks for our education community, for early learners. And really, this name falls in line with the way that we describe things throughout Wwise, where the hierarchies are really positioned to inform what they contain. And the containers hierarchy, okay, spoilers, contains containers. It's a little awkward, right? But it's real. So I'll take reality any day of the week. Speaking of reality, we've also taken this opportunity to rename the actor mixer object as a property container. Okay, it is a container that describes properties that can be inherited by children. This is one of the core strengths of Wwise, is that ability to set properties at the parent level and have those properties inherited, overriding at the point of use when you need to do something different within that hierarchy. And so we think property container is a clear description that helps people, again, reach for the right thing to do the job. So yeah, we'll be happy to take any feedback from folks. I'm seeing some of it dropping into the chat. Thomas thinks this terminology change is going to help so many students. Yes, we totally believe this. And I think that as an industry, we are up for the challenge of, evolving along with language. So thank you for that comment. Yeah. Alongside of that, we are renaming the master mixer hierarchy, moving away from troubling terminology. Now, the buses hierarchy will be where your audio buses and auxiliary aux buses are stored. That's the description of what it is, what is there. So really trying to put precision on this language, and removing the master terminology is something that our developers using Wwise have brought to us. They're trying to remove this from their code base, and it's something that we wanted to arrive and begin to bring that kind of terminology clarity all the way down to the root of Wwise. This also extends to the master audio bus. Now, when you create a new top-level bus, it's going to be the main audio bus as part of the bus's hierarchy. So we just think that this makes it much clearer moving forward, gets away from troublesome terminology that should be retired from our professional workflows, and it's just the right way forward for us over here. Alongside that, we've taken the simple strategy of renaming audio devices to devices. I think we can all agree one word better when two words too many, or something like that. So as you can see, there's a lot of changes to the way we describe things in Wwise 2025.1. So let's have a summary. The new containers hierarchy replaces the actor mixer hierarchy. The property container replaces the actor mixer container. Buses is the new hierarchy that includes audio buses and auxiliary buses. And the main audio bus is the new default for a top-level audio bus as part of the bus's hierarchy. Oh, and we shortened audio devices to devices. So thanks so much for evolving along with us as we continue to drive towards greater accessibility, precision of language, and continued evolution of language. It's really important to us here that we are using words that matter to describe the things that we're doing day to day. Okay, and you'll need to update your WAPI scripts and any workflow automation that you've got hanging around these terms, beginning with Wwise 2025.1. So check out the migration notes to understand how the changes might affect your project. Dig deeper. Apologies up front, but I have to say, we were out in front talking with Wwise developers earlier this year as we were preparing this change, and we said, hey, what would you rather us do? Take a halfway solution that ends up breaking everything in a few years, or just ripping the Band-Aid off and going all in with these changes? And again, through that feedback that we gathered, this was the best way forward for the developers we spoke with, and it really made sense to us to continue just evolving alongside the technology. So thanks to folks out there who will need to do this work to update WAPI scripts and automations. So let's dig deeper into some other user interface improvements. A lot of fun stuff here. First off, who likes graphs? Well, we have brought a Parametric EQ Graph interface to the Parametric EQ plugin in Wwise. So this is the beta 1 version. It's got 3 toggleable bands that you can enable or disable. You've got visual control over those properties. This is actually an animation of me controlling it with a control surface. So yeah, get it wired up to your favorite control surface and put the power of parametric EQ graphs at your fingertips. a great new feature that exposes, the value of visual properties. This will be a recurring theme over the next years as we continue to drive towards giving you greater accessibility over understanding properties and their effect. We've also iterated on our meter, providing a brand new multiband meter. Multiband metering, it's something that we've talked about across a few different Wise Up on Airs with the Baldur's Gate 3 team and how they use that to do different expansion or compression by segmenting out bands using EQ and the meter plugin. We talked about it with Harvey Scott on the Helldivers 2 project. He went deep with us on dynamic mixing and surfaced how they were slicing up the frequency spectrum with multiple meters in order to get the level of precision they needed. Well, we've brought it all into one convenient plugin as part of the multiband meter. So this delivers a full band meter, which measures the entire frequency spectrum, while giving you the ability to toggle on up to 4 other bands that can be segmented into different aspects of the frequency spectrum, output to different gain parameters with their own dynamics, everything to give you that level of detail and precision that you've been looking for, but have been having to build by hand for these last years. So definitely, a speed up when it comes to workflow as you're trying to find the right fit for dynamic mixing across the frequency spectrum. I remember a presentation that we had here at the Wise Tour in Seattle for Crackdown 3 a lot of years ago, and the developers there talking about leveraging the meter and EQ plugins in order to, carve out frequencies in the music using weapon sounds in order to not stomp on, let's say, the high-pitched rattle of weapons in conjunction with the snare or hi-hat in the background music track, right? There's different tricks to be able to get clarity without sacrificing the entire frequency spectrum. Well, the multiband meter is there for you to make that definition without additional setup and get what you need out of the frequency spectrum and dynamics in your project. So couldn't be more excited about this iteration on a workflow that folks have found a way in Wise. That's one of the most amazing things about Wise, is that it's a magic box and you can reach for these tools. But we're arriving today with a simpler solution, something that we think lands firmly in your dynamic mixing workflow. And speaking of that, folks who have been following along with this beta release, sidechaining. We have taken our first steps to deliver an audio rate sidechaining solution that will grow to become part of more and more effects over time. Arriving today with a sidechain send effect plugin, adding that to a bus, outputs the audio from that bus to an intermediary object called the sidechain mix. The sidechain mix object allows you to define a channel configuration so you can transform the output of that bus into different channel configurations. And then we've added that as an input on the sidechain plugin. So, on the compressor plugin. So there's a sidechain input where you can add that sidechain mix object. And now you can use that sidechain mix to drive the input signal for the sidechaining. Fantastic, just gets you there faster feature, and again, while being audio rate. I think a really important piece to mention here is that this feature, while exposed in the user interface across these different areas and as part of the compressor today in beta 1, will continue to grow, and it is fully accessible as part of our plugin API. So if you're a plugin developer, dig into that and find out how you can leverage this audio rate information as part of plugins that you're building for Wwise. And check in with us at future Wwise Up on Airs. We want to talk more about the way that people are creating effects plugins for Wwise. There's some really exciting stuff happening out there. So Sidechain Mix, again, a tool that arrives for dynamic mixing that we think falls squarely into the workflow that people are out there reaching for to get control back of their mixes, to present the right feedback about these experiences that are being created. So dig into the sidechaining available in Wwise in beta 1. And stick around. We'll have updates across future betas and the full release that will continue to grow the sidechaining in Wwise in that direction of dynamics. So let us know. Let us know how we're doing so far. And if that wasn't enough, we are going to go deep, deep, deep under the hood on this in a future Wwise Up on Air hands-on with David Crooks. He's been digging in deep to user stories, getting feedback, asking hard questions about where and how and in what way this feature needs to be there for, developers looking to, bring as much focus to their mix as possible. So I'm looking forward to landing with David, talking more about it, and answering your questions. Bring them to these live streams and we'll do our best to arrive with answers, and keep following us for future updates. Another feature that has landed as part of an event is the new playback limit and cooldown. So there's this idea out there that Wwise has a rich voice limiting pipeline, the ability to limit voices that are playing in order to stem the tide of sounds coming from a single game object or globally. And we're now bringing that to the event as part of a playback limit properties for that event. So what does that mean? I like to use the physics example where you've got a physics object that is interacting with the world, and the physics system might be sending out, tens of hundreds of thousands of event requests to Wwise for any given impact or series of impacts, depending on the level of detail of that system. Well, event limiting and cooldown gives you the ability to say, no, I will only play back this number of events for this period of time. And that cooldown is that duration at which no other events past the limit will be posted to Wwise. So again, that one impact that creates 10, rock impact small events, well, limiting that to 1 for 500 milliseconds or less would then only let through a single rock impact small event and its sounds, instead of trebling that impact sound and blowing everything up. So a great new feature that lands and speaks to requests that we've gotten from folks out there who, yeah, might not have the programmer resources to implement a limiting system like that in their custom engine or in a blueprints scenario. So we think that this is a great step forward for being able to give sound designers and technical sound designers the tools that they need to tune the way that events are handled as they arrive to Wwise. So looking forward to hearing about how folks get up to event limiting in their projects. So keep us posted. Another one that has been a sort of secret feature for developers out there working with RTPCs or real-time parameter controls is the ability to temporarily remove or audition sounds with or without the RTPCs enabled. Well, let's just say it. You can, in past versions of Wwise, you could be profiling in the game and delete that RTPC, which would effectively mute it from your profiling. Well, that was fine, but we've now brought that fully into the way that we work in Wwise with muting and soloing as part of RTPCs. So now, next to these RTPCs, you can mute one, you can solo one, you can toggle on and off whether those RTPCs for a sound are applied and hear the results immediately. So again, when you're profiling, this just gives you easy access to hearing the difference between your implementation. Sometimes it's a sanity check, like what is it doing? Okay, let me just mute and solo it. I'm not going to do anything destructive here. I'm not going to lose my project. Oh, I forgot to undo that delete and now my RTPC is gone. In 25.1, we have evolved that workflow of auditioning your RTPCs so that you can stay in your flow without having to worry about what did I just do? Again, we think that this speaks to conversations we've had with developers who are reaching for this. 24.1 brought a new way to edit properties. The legacy property editor has been reformatted into a property panel as part of an object tab in context. Thank you so much for folks who sat down with us and gave us feedback over this last year that 24.1 has been out in the wild and out there being used in projects. And we're taking that feedback to heart. We're going to continue to evolve the property editor in the direction of usability because we think it is the best way to edit properties in Wwise yet. Does it take some getting used to? Absolutely. Yes. As a longtime user of Wwise, it absolutely broke my visual muscle memory that I had built up over 20 years of using Wwise. And it also presents a huge opportunity for us as we continue to evolve towards this idea of unifying workflows, and it gets that property editor out of the center focus so that we can put what is important in front of you. But we've made some improvements in 2025.1. Column resizing is now automatic. We're just going to do that and it's going to fall into place without having to have an extra splitter bar. We've brought defaults to the favorite system. Favorite system actually was one of the feedbacks that we took during the beta for 2024.1, and we iterated on that by presenting defaults for favorites in 2025.1. So when you open up a project, you'll already have filled in that favorites tab in the property editor, the properties that you would have traditionally seen in the legacy property editor. So now you land in a in a project, and by default, you would see the same things in your favorites tab that you would have in past releases of Wwise. And again, this is possible because of the great feedback that we've gotten from folks out there who are willing to spend their time working with it and then communicating with us in a way that we could channel into this current release. And another exciting step for us here is tab-based navigation in the property editor. You know, we recognize the value of keyboard accessibility and accessibility in general. So this is another important step for us, being able to navigate across property filters and property categories and properties in the editor starts to unlock something that becomes really powerful for us. So thank you for continuing to stick with us while we evolve the property editor to be the best way to edit properties in Wwise. That goes for this feature as well, expandable notes. We have a lot of folks who we've talked to. There was one developer in Finland last year that I spoke with, and they were like, you know, notes, we live by them at our company. And if only I could see more than 2 lines, it would make life so much better. So now those notes grow and expand based on what you put in them. Of course, like any property category in Wwise, you can expand and collapse that to get it out of the way. But those are also searchable. So you can always, you know, use the Wwise search to find references to text that you type. And folks are using the notes field for all kinds of cool things, whether it's for pipeline speedups that they're doing with the Wwise authoring API, WAPI, or WAQL, or just, you know, messages to teammates. Hey, I'm working on this right now, in progress. So we have a lot of ideas about how to continue growing this, but for now, I think this meets feedback that we've received from folks about wanting to have more notes visible at any given time. So, you know, please let us know how this lands and what we can do next, because we want to continue to drive towards these solutions that meet developers where they're at. Small change, big improvement. Being able to edit groups as part of the sequence container editor, music playlist editor, switch container editor. You know, these are editors that inherently group objects together in different ways. And we're just making small tweaks to the contextual menu, the way that this works. You know, adding in the ability to, you know, group selections with one click, or, you know, just really build these in a way that is expandable for you as you're growing your development. And we took a look at how navigation in the Project Explorer was presenting the default editors in Wwise, and we scratched our head for a minute because, you know, it didn't quite land the way that people were expecting. And that expectation is that as you're navigating through objects, yes, it will keep track of secondary editors, but also presenting the default editor and focusing on that as you navigate across objects and tabs. So this is a small change that folks who have been out there, you know, working with Wwise 2024.1 will see just a small change that will have a big impact in how you navigate across objects in your hierarchy. So we hope that this arrives in the right way for folks who want to see what's happening with their object. And again, based on great feedback from the community. So thanks again for coming to the table with this. And if you're out there using WAPI and WAQL, our Wwise authoring query language, we've added a bunch of accessors across these different categories that give you more access to what is in the project so that you can create these workflows outside of Wwise that support development in your project. Jump into this link and QR code for a full list of those accessors and what they include. And we're just going to keep growing these because they are, a fundamental way for developers to harness the power of the project using the Wwise Authoring API, WAPI, and the Wwise Authoring Query Language, WAQL. Wouldn't you love that? WAPI and WAQL? For industry of acronyms, those two are pretty fun. So chat is popping off. I can't even keep track, but I see coworkers and friends weaving their own conversation over there, and that's inspiring for me. So thanks for bringing those questions and answers from the team. Great to have that going. And for folks who have surface questions that go unanswered, we'll try to circle back to those at the end. But let's dive into integrations. These are the connective tissue between Wwise, a custom game engine, and of course our Unity and Unreal integration. Not to mention the unofficial Godot integration maintained by Audiokinetic field engineer Alessandro Fama. So our integrations are that connective tissue to a game engine so that you can take it further, so that you can use what's in the box in a way that's either specific to your game or part of what exists in an off-the-shelf game engine. And we're excited to be bringing the Wwise browser, which arrived as part of our Unreal integration in previous versions, to Unity. So now we have a shared Wwise browser experience. So let's say you are an independent developer working across multiple projects. You now have one way to understand Wwise across Unity and Unreal. And we think it's these small things that we do to unify workflows that really make a big difference for developers out there who might be working on Unreal this project, but in their next project will land in Unity. And being able to get started with your experience in the same way is a huge workflow speed up. So congrats to the integrations team for growing these two Wwise browsers into one across Unity and Unreal. Additionally, we've worked hard to bring the dynamic dialogue feature of Wwise to a fully supported feature in Unreal. Dynamic dialogue, traditionally thought of as a way to sequence VO in a way that is dynamic and runtime responsive. But the folks at Formosa did a deep dive on how they're using dynamic dialogue out there for not only voice, but also their weapon systems, their Foley systems, footsteps. They are creating, dynamic ways of surfacing the right sound at the right moment in the right way, leveraging this tool. And they've got a great presentation on it. I'm linking to it here in the QR code. The folks behind Game SoundCon have made that publicly available and free for you to, soak in their knowledge share and really get a clear picture of what dynamic dialogue can do as part of your workflow outside of Dialog. Of course, still works for Dialog, and it can be so much more. So dig in deeper to this feature. It's arrived as fully supported in Unreal and in the Blueprint system, and accessible outside of that. And for games at a certain level of complexity, it becomes extremely compelling to dig into this in order to get a dynamic playback in a moment-to-moment experience like games. We've also done improvements to our gyms, improving the solutions and stabilizations. We've added Unity addressables by default, as well as web support. But you might ask, what are gyms? But they are a simple scene for showcasing a single feature. So they're just little functional tests for features between Wwise and our integrations. They're available for Unity and Unreal. They can teach you all kinds of things about these features. And if you're a developer working in a custom solution, you can also create test cases, automate feature validation across your integration. So whether that's in Unity or Unreal or in your own custom solution, you can ensure that your integration is working as intended. And this is out there right now. Our gyms are public on GitHub. You can jump over there, get these. They come with the associated engine project and Wwise project for you to be able to get up and running and ensure that these features are working in your scenario and continue working across the development of your project. So great initiative from the integrations team to put this tooling in place so that developers can ensure that their development keeps running without interruption. We've also made improvements to our Unreal packaging feature. This was a feature that arrived as part of 2024.1, improving the modular gameplay feature experience in Unreal. This is extending the DLC support for packaging. And essentially, another piece is auto-defined sound banks are included in the correct packages. So everything falling into place as we continue iterating across the features of packaging in Unreal. And we'll continue doing that. Make sure to sign up, smash that subscribe button, and tune in for a future integrations live stream that we'll take on with Benoit Santar. We're going to do all the features in the box for 2025.1. It's a place for you to ask questions. It's a place for you to hear how we're thinking about our integrations, the direction that we're growing things in. And Benoit's, been at the forefront of, making sure that developers have the tools that they need across Wwise and the game engine so that they can make amazing experiences. It's worth saying that there's a ton of us at Audiokinetic who love playing games, and it's such a gift to have a game arrive using Wwise and know that in a way that we have contributed to the work that you're out there creating. As a player, as a developer, it's just great to be a part of your process. So swing by in the future and hear more about what we've done in the integrations for Wwise 2025.1. Let's go. Moving into spatial audio. We got some exciting stuff in the box for you here. If you've been around, we slice up this term spatial audio across a couple different perspectives. First, 3D audio, our object-based pipeline, this way of adapting configurations, channels, and audio objects to present the best possible representation depending on what the user has defined, right? So whether you're using 3D audio on a PS5 or Atmos on an Xbox or anything in between, this 3D audio aspect of spatial audio we have invested in for you to be able to author once towards the best representation and have the system dynamically transform to present the best representation of that for whatever the output configuration is. Another piece of spatial audio is acoustics. And Wwise has a whole host of tools and technologies that are there to help convince you that what you hear is real. And we're going to continue working towards that goal into the future. But let's take a look at what we've added in 2025.1, starting with a new dual shelf filter. This shelf filter is a better way to approximate the filtering of sounds. We think it's a valuable new tool in the toolbox, and feedback from folks who had their hands on it during alpha testing. We presented them with this feature. We put it in their ears for them to audition. And what they say is it's a way for them to get there faster when they're talking about filtering sounds over distance as part of diffraction, transmission, obstruction, and occlusion. It's just a better sounding filter for different uses. And while the low pass filter and high pass filter of Wwise will persist, this is another one in the toolbox for you to reach for under various circumstances. That comes across a few different parts in the UI. We have a dual shelf filter gain that is accessible on the output bus and game-defined auxiliary sends as part of bus properties. So you can get your hand on it there. You can link and unlink it. You can assign RTPCs. You can apply states. This dual shelf filter gain is within reach as part of your bus properties. We've also added it as part of the attenuation in the distance, diffraction, transmission, obstruction, and occlusion categories. There's now a dual shelf filter curve that can be inherited from your project settings or customized at your point of use. So dual shelf filter gain, this is where it shows up in the user interface. And in Reflect, another valuable piece of this is being able to simulate these frequencies and how they're filtered in a early reflections way as part of our Reflect plugin. So, again, all about trying to simulate this representation of reality through sound. Early reflections, those first few bounces off of geometry, informing the player of where they are in a space, appropriately filtering those. Well, historically, you would take your low pass and high pass. You would, find the perfect intersection of those two. And we think developers can get there faster today using the dual shelf filter and create a more realistic representation of filtering across these different areas of the project. So that's it. Pulling the dual shelf filter into focus in the user interface across the bus properties, attenuations, and Wwise Reflect. And we've also put an emphasis property in the project settings. So this is a way for you to tailor the filter response with varying emphasis. You've got this great graph of wave, modulation, showing what happens when you turn that emphasis knob up and down. Thanks for these great GIFs. So this is a project setting. You set it once and it informs how that dual shelf filter gain interacts across the rest of your project. So we're super excited for you to get your ears on this. We're going to go deeper in a future Wwise Up on Air about it. So head in and bring back your experience either as part of a survey or land with us in real time when we talk more about it in the future. This one is super cool for folks out there who've been working with Wwise for years. You might be used to seeing your environmental curves as part of the project settings in Wwise, represented across graphs for the different environmental curves that are available to be inherited by an attenuation. Well, we've taken a step to abstract that, and those graphs in your project settings have been replaced by an environmental curves share set, or a share set that you can target that includes the defaults for your environmental curves that you want to be used and inherited by other attenuations. Take a drink every time I say attenuation. Stay hydrated. And we think this is exciting because now, while you are connected and profiling your game, you have these inherited curves within reach. So you can tweak them in real time. You no longer have to bounce back and forth between the modal window of your project settings and the real-time attenuation view. You have these within reach, and you can tweak them in real time and hear their effects across other attenuations that inherit these project environmental curves. So again, a nice tweak towards greater usability and workflow, keeping you in that real-time, focused, and iterative connection to the game using Wwise for the best results. So great work there, creating that new workflow for people to stay applied with their ears in the environment towards the best realistic representation of the environment. We dug in to reflect, and we have simplified and improved the properties around Doppler. So we've added the new delay smoothing, or carried that forward and iterated that technology. We've also changed the pitch threshold to be a pitch limit, and we brought in a kind of delay error tolerance. Simply, this means greater control with better fidelity over Dopplering as part of these early reflections. So you can tune this so that the phenomenon is that as things are moving, they change pitch. And when we're talking about reflections, there's a lot moving. And so these controls give you the ability to tune that in a way that better represents your intention, whether that's creative or realistic. And I think that runs fundamentally to all of our acoustic technologies that really give you the tools to determine what you're trying to accomplish. So new properties for Doppler. We can't wait to hear what you get up to with it. Let's dig into the Game Object 3D Viewer. This is the place for you to see what's happening at a game object perspective in your connected game experience. See your geometry, see the game objects that have been created by the game, the sounds that are posting on it. It is your lens into what is happening behind the scenes in the game. And we've added a ton of flexibility around how you now toggle on and off the visibility of different aspects of that Game Object 3D Viewer. We started by adding a settings toolbar at the top. This exposes the visibility options that have been part of the Game Object 3D Viewer. in a way that is configurable. So now you can put your favorite properties in front of you and give you direct access to toggle them on and off. This comes across 4 different categories: your view, the text, the game object, and acoustics. These options are all within reach as part of the submenu associated with each of these areas. And then you have the option to pin them optionally to that settings toolbar. Meanwhile, toggle them on and off using the buttons in the settings toolbar, or reach for the checkboxes in these submenus for properties that you don't use that often. We think this accessibility to being able to toggle the visibility of different aspects paves the way for different ways of working in the game object 3D viewer. You know, there's sometimes when you're trying to understand, you know, what sounds are playing from where at a given time. There's other times you're trying to understand, you know, what is my diffraction for this sound through this portal to this room. So giving you these toggles within reach, helping you get there faster to understand all of the information in the game object 3D viewer is a key piece of this feature. But that's not all, because in addition to the settings toolbar, we've also refined the way that the game object list and filter work. We think this brings just ease of use to how you put things into that game object filter and present them. We've also brought object selection into the game object 3D viewer. So now you can select an emitter and get properties about it, along with the diffraction path to see specifics about these 2 aspects of what is presented in the game object 3D viewer. Greater accessibility, giving you more what you need at your fingertips, creating these dynamic workflows for you so that you can get there faster to understand how you need to grow your interactive audio to be the best that it can be. And we're going to go deep into these features live with a demo featuring Tali Kaklikian. It's so great to have her. If you've been around the Wise Up on Air, you'll know she was one of the first co-presenters as part of this live streaming experience, and she always brings the fire in the best way. So let's put a sticky there to land in the future and go hands-on with the new features in 25.1 of the game object 3D viewer. Couple last things. We've added a room distance behavior property to rooms, the AK Spatial audio volume. This gives you the ability to either subtract room distance, which is the default, or exclude room distance from the properties of a room. This allows you to create a distance-based fall-off in association with how you want sound to be presented as part of your parent and child relationship of rooms that also includes our reverb zones. So this is a way for developers to, either persist the sound outside of a child room or scale that over distance using the attenuation. So a feature that many folks who are out there working on the edge of our acoustic technology have been asking for, and we are answering that in 25.1 with this room distance behavior property. So if you're out there and reaching for this, it's there. A few other things. We're always working on performance. We want spatial audio to be something that any game, no matter where or what platform you're developing for, can take advantage of these technologies. And so in 25.1, we've done a bunch of work on our dynamic load balancing to continually distribute acoustic tasks depending on how much processing power you have. So these tasks all get taken into consideration per frame, and we allocate the appropriate processing when it makes sense. It replaces a technology that we've had in place called CPU limit, which was an attempt towards this, and this iteration on that really arrives with something that is scalable. And this is something that, again, we're taking from the conversations we're having with developers out there using this technology at scale and continuing to grow in the direction of their workflows. Additionally, we've got an experimental feature called emitter clustering, aiming to improve the reflection and diffraction path computation by grouping those emitters and reducing the calculations. So, dig deeper into our What's New to read more about these advanced features of our acoustics technologies. There's continuous work being done to grow this in the direction of more believable experiences, leveraging acoustics as part of these experiences. So dig in. Let's talk about the sound engine. We are coming in for a landing here in our last section. The Wwise sound engine, the fundamental piece that is orchestrating the playback of all of these sounds, music, and dialogue. And we have intense focus on making sure that that is continually moving in the right direction. A small feature that I'm going to throw out there is our external sources being able to leverage WAV files instead of WEM files as part of an external source. So I'm not going to dig too deep into this because our developer friends out there have been showing up with knowledge share about this feature that I think says more than I ever could, whether you're talking about the pros and cons of its use in Star Wars Outlaws or Alan Wake 2. They know what they're doing and why, and they make a great case for how you could leverage this tool as part of your development pipeline. And now you can do it with WAV files. I think it unlocks and opens the door for the modding community as well. We've seen in the last year the arrival of the Witcher 3 Red Kit modding tools. If you haven't jumped into that, it's available for folks who've bought the game. You get the Wwise project, you get all of their sources, and you can mod that game to your heart's content. There's a great video walkthrough and blog from Guido Fazzito about how to get started with it. And again, I think wave playback of these external sources paves the way for future empowerment of these modding communities. So dig in deeper to this if you're out there making a game. It is a valuable tool, and we've got a bunch of great resources to bring you up to speed. We've also taken on a behavioral rewrite. So this is under the hood, behavioral aspects of the Wwise sound engine, optimizing playback across multiple systems. They are fundamental to continuing to scale the sound engine in support of future workflows and today's workflows, as well as meeting the demands of game engines as they continue to evolve towards a more precise representation of these environments and experiences. So we're doing the hard work to go in and make sure things continue to grow in the right direction towards our development workflows while preserving stability and optimizing the way that Wwise works under the hood. Additionally, we've added a command buffer API. Now, this is an expert feature for folks who need to go deeper into the way that Wwise works to streamline the way that things are processed. Some games send a lot of data to the sound engine, games with tons of game objects or game syncs, hundreds of values. And even though you can manage this data transfer with our C++ API, we think a more efficient way to do this is to use the fully asynchronous C-compatible command buffer API. This release introduces functions that are going to continue to expand into the future and get you closer to what you need as an expert developer with the rendering of audio using Wwise. So dig in to this one in our documentation and let us know what you need. Again, as we continue to grow these features, we rely on your feedback and your point of use to try and understand where to continue growing it outside of our own needs and outside of the needs of our collaborators. So that's it. An hour or so later, and we are crashing on the shore of the Wwise 2025.1 beta across our user experience, integrations, spatial audio acoustics, and sound engine features. Get in there, grab the beta, install it through the Audiokinetic launcher, and try these things out in your workflow. Report bugs, ask questions, contact support, drop us a line at openears@audiokinetic.com. We're interested in your perspective. We want to channel that towards the future of your workflows. And I think we got some cool stuff in the box that paves the way for exciting stuff in the future. Feedback, it's an art form, right? Use what is available to you in the Audiokinetic launcher, the samples, the strata. Audition these features. Use that bug reporter. Let us know what you think of how we're doing. And stick with us. We are just kicking off the Wwise Summer of Beta with this Beta 1 release. We're going to be here all summer, bringing you iterations on features that you've seen today, maybe some new features that will arrive in advance of the full release this fall. And check back to see whether we have leveraged your feedback towards iterating things in the direction of your development workflows. This is the most exciting time for me because I get to be out there talking with folks about how they're using this, ways we can improve it, and then channeling that directly into the development pipeline here at Audiokinetic and growing this in the direction of the Wwise community. So thanks in advance. I can't wait to hear from you, and I can't wait to speak with you in the future. And sit tight. Expo in the fall, digging into the full release. We'll present a much more condensed 25.1 at that point. This beta live stream is full verbose mode, like all of the features, all of the time. Of course, go behind the scenes with the what's new at the blog, dig into the documentation and see the detail that goes into these features. There's just a ton out there for you to learn more about what we are equipping the future of game audio with as part of your Wwise development pipeline. And thank you. Some fantastic stuff in the box across this release. Thanks to the developers at AK who've worked hard to arrive with these features. Folks who showed up today, thanks. Been good to see the chat flying by. I'm going to dig into the Q&A here in a second and see if there are some questions I can answer. And meanwhile, thanks for putting up with that opening shenanigans. I hope you've enjoyed this different view of the Wwise Up on Air development environment. 5 years live streaming from this office with one perspective. I thought it would be fun to turn the tables here for this beta live stream. All right, let's check in with the questions that have been surfaced. Okay, so wow, folks in the chat have done a great job answering the questions. It looks like everyone piled in and had this dialogue already. So if anyone is hanging out and has more questions, I'm here for just a few more minutes to field any last thoughts or uncover any other behind the scenes stuff. We're going casual mode. Yeah. I love it. Landing at the end with all the questions answered. Come on. Oh, Horatio. Yeah, good to see you here. Great to have you. Let's see, what do we got? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, the question is, for external sources, does it mean that the packaged project will have to include the raw .wav files? I do see that that was answered though. Maybe I missed it. Okay, well, it's awkward because I have it marked as answered and I don't want to go out on a limb. So I'll take this question that just popped in. Any plans for RTPC state control over the mastering suite? Nothing right now. We recognize the value in having some parameter control there. It's in the future, but not on the roadmap. And so, in the meantime, this idea of being able to swap in and out share sets for the mastering suite is what we have available to folks. So whether you're, swapping in for, your home theater versus headphones versus 3D audio mastering suite share sets, this is the finest level of control we provide today. I think in the future, there's room to imagine that, and we understand why folks would want to reach for it, but nothing planned right now. Cool, thanks for the question. Cool. Groovy. We've had our answer here about the WAV files. You can ship them if you want. It's not mandatory. Great. Precision. Hey, thanks for the bonus round and the extra questions. Signing off. What a great way to introduce the new features of Wwise 25.1. Thanks for sticking with me today and all the great conversations that took place in the chat. Thanks for being here. And if you're just finding this, dig into the Wwise beta and let us know what you think. Cheers.